Okay, a great SEO audit is not about SEO. It sounds a little bit counterintuitive, I know, but bear with me and I'll explain myself. If you think that having great SEO is going to be the magic bullet that's going to have you outrank your competition, then you are highly mistaken. Or maybe you have somebody before that is an SEO specialist that may have told you that that is going to be the magic bullet for you. And they're either completely wrong themselves or they're just trying to get your money. And in either one of those situations, it sucks for you. So let's jump back a little bit and I'll be able to explain things a little bit further. Okay, what really is SEO? Search engine optimization. So that means by making tweaks or fixes or changes or implementing keywords, title tags, meta tags to tell search engines like Google, Bing, Amazon what your page is about. So technically speaking, if we're thinking strictly in terms of SEO, we're only thinking about search engines and optimizing for the search engine. Okay, let's talk about search engines then and search engines now. Search engines then, let's say 10, 15 years ago, were much more dumb. You would literally tell them the keywords that you wanted to rank for. So people would just stuff their pages, their websites with whatever keyword they wanted, and that was almost enough to get you ranking to the positions that you wanted to be at. And what about now? Search engines, luckily, have gotten much smarter, and that benefits the end user and why search engines have become the powerhouses that they have today. So let's think about what search engines are actually trying to do. They're trying to provide whatever the searcher is looking for to give them the most valuable content, the most correct thing to whatever that person is hoping to find. So what does that mean? It means that we really need to focus on the user. We need to stop trying to please the search engine so much and really take into consideration why someone is searching for what they're searching for and why they might want to come to your website. And that comes down to a lot of different factors that aren't strictly SEO. So now let's think about why an SEO audit would come into play. Now this comes down to an analogy that you may have seen on the internet before, but it's something as simple as, why would you want to check under the hood of your car every once in a while? Well, then that's probably because you would want to make sure that nothing's wrong with it. This is much in the same as SEO and with your website. You want to check it every once in a while to make sure there's nothing wrong with it, that there's nothing holding you back from ranking higher or where you should be or what you potentially could be at. Because if you're not checking it every once in a while, that website is going to break down, you're going to drop in rankings, and you're going to lose out on potential customers. So what goes into a great SEO audit? Now, of course, you want to cover the foundational things, a lot of the things that we traditionally think of as SEO. So that means we're going to want to check those foundational things like your domain authority, your backlinks, your citations, your technical SEO, if you're using schema markup, any page speed issues, things along those lines that fall under, technically speaking, what SEO is. Now, a great SEO audit will move beyond that. And remember, this is where we want to start to take into consideration from the user's point of view. And this is why I like in the audits that I perform, which if you want, you can actually check on my website for a template of the audits that I do. And you can see exactly some of these other factors that I like to put in the audit, which is not strictly SEO. So this is where we want to start to dive past the foundational stuff and check the actual performance of the pages on your website. And we really want to focus on the top performing pages to see what sort of behavior is happening on them, whether there's high bounce rates, what are the click-through rates, what pages they go to between different pages on your website, and how they exit your website. So then once we start to look at the factors of why someone is actually coming to your website, how they're coming to your website, how long they're staying there, and why or why not they might be leaving, then we want to dive into content strategy. Now this is moving outside of SEO. And the reason it gets lumped in with SEO is because what's happening nowadays is you cannot do SEO without incorporating these other forms of digital marketing, whether that's from a social media campaign, that's blogging, vlogging, it doesn't matter. So anyone that tries to sell you on some long-term strictly SEO contract, unless you have a gigantic website and a large company and you need constant attention to strictly SEO, but that's not the case for most of us. But if they're trying to sell you on some long-term contract for that, then they're not thinking about the big picture and they're not going to get you the results that you want to have. We need to start taking into consideration the things that are going to make people want to come to your website and not just stay there, but opt into whatever it is that you want them to be there for, and then ideally eventually convert into customers. Because you can optimize title tags and meta tags and schema markup all you want, but that's not going to do much if you're not providing the right content or value for the user to be there in the first place. So a great SEO audit will then start to lay out a good content strategy, a good opt-in strategy, and also a good strategy to improve click-through rates from the user's perspective. And of course, you do also want to have some good keyword research. A great SEO audit will lay down a roadmap about how to move forward, about how to increase the traffic to your website by thinking from the user's perspective. How do we actually provide value to the user? How do we get them to engage with the content that we put out there? And then how do we get them to opt in? And these are the sort of factors that come into play when we think about building authority, because that's really what we want to do. You want to be an authority figure in whatever niche you are in. And when you start to build that authority, those what really become the ranking factors and which get your website moved ahead of the competition. So this is why the SEO audit should not just be about SEO. Optimizing that foundational SEO, while it is completely key, is not the thing that is really going to increase your traffic. And ultimately, it's not the thing that's going to give you sustainable, continual growth. So when looking for a great SEO audit, look for one that goes beyond SEO. Look for the one that's going to provide you a roadmap and a strategy to really move forward and to grow your website. Now, if you want a template for one to do this yourself or to get an idea of what a decent SEO audit should be, you can go ahead and get the template from my website for free, and with a list of resources that can help you perform that SEO audit totally for free, just at maxmademarketing.com. Hopefully this gives you a little insight about SEO audits and what makes them good or not so good. Please leave a like, comment, and hit the bell for subscribe to see when I put out my next video. All right, take care.